SEC Network football presented by Allstate. What a beautiful backdrop here on Music Row in downtown Nashville. We got two hot football teams too. Florida Gators coming in at 6-4 against the Vanderbilt Commodores coming off a victory. Here come the Gators looking for their 7th win of the season, which could put them back in the top 25. And the Commodores are in all black today, trying for a second straight SEC victory. With the College Football Hall of Famer Matt Stinchcomb, I'm Alyssa Lang. Or I'm Taylor Zarser. Alyssa Lang's on that field down there. I've always wanted to be Alyssa. I know Alyssa's excited to tell you about these two quarterbacks, Mike Wright and Anthony Richardson, in just a moment. And the running games for both of those teams have been outstanding all year. How about the momentum that both teams are feeling right now after the victories they've recently enjoyed?
Well, obviously a springboard type of a win for Vanderbilt, finally breaking that streak of winlessness in the SEC. But they ran the football really well, especially with Mike Wright at quarterback, 264 yards on the ground. And of course, Florida, 374 rushing yards last week in a resounding victory over South Carolina. Both of these offenses finding their groove in the ground game.
Yeah, and we were talking about the quarterbacks. They're the best in the country at running the football, Mike Wright and Anthony Richardson.
Huge contributors in that element of the offense. Anthony Richardson, we knew coming into the season, had big playmaking ability and has done so for most of this year, but especially in recent weeks. And then, of course, Mike Wright started the season, lost his job, still had a role in the offense, and then resumed those starting duties last week in their win versus Kentucky and was a big part of it.
Look how much Wright gets every time he runs the football. 8.3 yards. Richardson, no slouch, at 6.6 yards per carry, and you're going to see plenty of that today. Let's go down to the Alyssa Lang with today's Sideline Report, brought to you by Jimmy John's.
Thanks, Alyssa. I mean, Taylor, yeah, these two quarterbacks, as you said, very similar skill sets, but they come into this game with quite the friendship as well. Anthony Richardson and Mike Wright met this past year at the Manning Passing Academy. They were actually next-door neighbors. Anthony Richardson telling me this week, it was really cool to have another friend to talk about life outside of football with, but that's not where it ends. These guys coach each other up all season long. Mike Wright said they're constantly texting each other throughout the year as they're watching SEC opponents, giving each other feedback, anything that could help them take on that opponent the very next week. And it doesn't end there. They also watch each other's film and try to give each other feedback where they can, coaching each other up, saying it's all about elevation. When it comes to this matchup, not sure they shared a ton of nuggets, but they both said, hey, when you get to compete against your friends, it's a ton of fun, guys.
You've always been my hero, Alyssa. You know that. It's obvious. All right, today is the 56th meeting between those two teams. The temperature in the 40s. Beautiful conditions with just a little bit of wind. Florida leads the series 43-10-2. They've won 9 straight and 15 in a row here in Nashville. The last Vandy win came in Gainesville. That was in 2013. And the last time Vandy won here was 1988 when Mac Watson Brown's Vanderbilt Commodores beat the Gators. And play will start at the 25-yard line. Florida did win the toss and deferred, so Vandy is set to receive. And we get to see Mike Wright, the junior from Fayetteville, Georgia, the SEC co-offensive player of the week, Stitch, for that performance you were referencing last week in Lexington.
Well, and he was able to extend plays. It wasn't just running the football. Made a couple of ad-lib plays, caught the attention of the defensive coaching staff at Florida. Patrick Toney, defensive coordinator, noted that when he escapes the pocket, he is creative. It gives time for these receivers to uncover, but it's the ground game that Vanderbilt has used to power their offense.
In shotgun formation on the first play, and it's a handoff that goes to Davis, and Ray doesn't get anything as they stay at the 25-yard line. Big Desmond Watson was there, and we saw South Carolina try to do this with counter plays over and over again against the Gators last Saturday in Gainesville, and Stench, they couldn't do anything.
Well, it's just so hard to get movement at the point of attack. Interior portion of the defensive front anchored by big Desmond Watson, all 400 pounds of him. Hard to get displacement versus a body that big.
You wonder if Vandy will try to get to the edge, play the option game a bit today. But the first two plays, it's handoffs to Davis. He tries to get the edge and can't. He's shoved out of bounds by Jaden Hill. And again, it's a second straight no-gainer, 3rd and 10 for Vandy.
And a great job by Trey Dean, triggering down early, forcing Ray Davis to go horizontally. Ray Davis, an excellent runner. And we talk about the ground game, and not just these quarterbacks, complimented by Ray Davis, and has been even when A.J. Swan was the starting quarterback for Vanderbilt. But Davis that time more of a downhill runner. The speed of the Florida defense, it's not going to be easy to get the ball on the perimeter this afternoon.
Vanderbilt is 37% on third down for the season. Wright throws the one-on-one ball, and it's over the head of his intended target, Gamarian Carter, who was covered up, and is a quick 3-and-out for Vanderbilt's offense.
Well, Florida defensively has not been great on third down, but last week they were outstanding. They held South Carolina to only 3 conversions on 11 third down attempts. That's going to be a key down in this game, and more notably on first and second down. A late substitution for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Carter very late to get on the field. At the bottom of the screen, Matthew Hayball is one of the best punters in the country, has the 4th best average at over 46 yards per punt. It's another beautiful one with Pearsall back to make the fair catch. Inside the 30-yard line, it's a 47-yard punt. Well, we've seen the best of Anthony Richardson lately, Mr. Stinchcomb. First 3 games was a struggle, but the last 7, he's been terrific, as he's only one of 5 quarterbacks with at least 9 rushing touchdowns and at least 9 passing touchdowns.
Just so explosive. I mean, you see the completion percentage. That's an area of improvement for Anthony Richardson, no doubt. He was without one of his favorite targets in Justin Shorter last week. Shorter available here today in the lineup.
Yet Xavier Henderson is not. So Shorter back, Henderson out. On the first play, they go to Marcus Burke. Haven't used him much this year, just his 4th catch of the season, but he gets the start today, and he picks up 3 yards.
Quick, easy completion. You know, we talk about it, try to get into a rhythm. Cold out here today. Let Anthony Richardson get comfortable in the passing game, and also, well, unbalanced in an early snap here.
Montrell Johnson's going to have to dive on it back at the 13-yard line. It's a loss, a big loss on the play.
Well, they go on balance a lot. But this time, we saw this last week. Ball came out early. Not sure what triggered this snap. They had an issue with it. You saw Anthony Richardson's going to clap. That ball comes out early. They were unbalanced to the right. That's something that Florida likes to do early to see if you can get a defense misaligned. And heck of a break for the Vandy defense.
Loss of 18. It's now 3rd and 25. Richardson looking down the field, is going to check it down to Pearsall, breaks a tackle, stiff arm, first down, out of bounds at the 40.
This is what he gives you. I mean, you don't like what you have initially. Tuck it, push it up in the pocket, just enough to buy time. Kind of slid to his right. You see that arm strength. Just whips that ball out to Ricky Pearsall. Unbalanced again.
It's a catch in 26 straight, and quickly the ball goes out to Marcus Burke again, and Burke is drilled back at the 37-yard line by B.J. Anderson. He comes up to make the tackle there, and another loss on the play.
So what Florida likes to do, they'll take their left tackle and just flip them over there to the right side of their offensive formation. And they're trying to see if you can get the defense misaligned, and that time trying to capture the edge back to the boundary side of their formation.
Today's referee is Steve Marlowe.
The previous play is under further review for targeting.
Very quickly you get some of that. B.J. Anderson made the tackle on Burke. Anderson, the 5th-year senior from Andalusia, Alabama. Marlowe will take a look with Mitchell Wilkins, today's replay official.
Yeah. I mean, one of the elements, you know, it's the crown of the helmet. And this is the targeting penalty is not just to protect the targeted player per se. It's also to protect the would-be tackler, the one who's initiating the contact. And it did very much look as if it was a crown of the helmet, a lowering of the head. It's a dangerous way to perform a tackle.
Again, the ruling on the field was not targeting, so they would have to overturn the call, and they would have to be able to say what you just said, Stench, based on all these views that they're getting.
You see as you initiate the contact, the lowering of the head, it's be very surprised. And the reason why it was initiated is a booth-initiated review here. No flag came out on the field, but it's to protect it. It's the age-old, when you start playing football, it's see what you hit. And the reason they tell you to do that is because to avoid lowering your head at contact.
We do wonder as the years go on with this if they'll have maybe levels of targeting, if there's intentional targeting, flagrant targeting. That would be accidental targeting, but as you're saying, by the letter of the law, it certainly looks like he lowered that head. And Steve Marlowe is off the headset and ready for the call.
After further review, we have a personal foul targeting using the crown of the helmet. Defense, number 26. It's a 15-yard penalty. Number 26 is disqualified.
Well, on the first possession, at least, or on the first time Vanderbilt's defense is on the field today, Anderson has to leave the football game and miss the duration of it. He will be able to play next Saturday against Tennessee. Instead of a 3rd and 25, Pearsall makes the catch, breaks a tackle, then Vanderbilt forces a 3-yard loss, and instead, with the penalty enforced, that's an extra 15 yards, and suddenly Florida, just a moment ago inside their own 15, now they're on Vanderbilt's side of the field.
And you think about the emphasis that was made all week long, talking with Nick Howell, defensive coordinator for Vanderbilt. The play action passing game for Florida is dangerous. And we talk about the runability of Anthony Richardson. They get that ground game going. You have to make sure that you are very disciplined with your eyes. They call it eye control for their defensive backs. So once you start digging into that depth, those guys that maybe didn't get as many practice reps, haven't seen as many game reps, that can impact from a big play standpoint.
Billy Napier's team 6-4 on the season in his first year as head coach of the Gators. 4 terrific years at Louisiana Lafayette. Had them in the top 15 in the country 2 years ago. He said last week the 38-6 win against South Carolina was the best performance of the year in every phase.
Yeah, that's something he was talking about. Texas A&M, they like the way they played in the second half, but he's saying, where's other phases of the game? We want to put together 4 quarters in all 3 phases. That seemed to be the case, other than the fake punt that they gave up versus the Gamecocks.
Fake to Montrell Johnson. Richardson rolls out and slings one out there, but it's incomplete. He's trying to get it to Marcus Burke again, but nice coverage that time by Jalen Mahoney.
Great job by Mahoney, sticking with it. We just talked about the play action, right? So you pull a couple of offensive linemen, right? Good sell on it, move the pocket, puts the ball right on him. Truth is, you got to come up with that catch for your quarterback.
Burke's been buried on the depth chart most of the year, and it's already been targeted 3 times by Richardson on this first drive. Pearsall going in motion, and it's Montrell Johnson for the first time going straight ahead past the 40 down to the 39-yard line. Johnson, who's Napier's voice on the field, who came with Billy from Louisiana. It's over 700 yards rushing and had 161 last week against South Carolina.
You look right now, early on, really for Florida, more of an emphasis in the passing game for them to come in here so hot on the ground.
3rd and 4 for the Gators. And it's Pearsall slips on that jet sweep back at the 42 on that field turf. It'll be a loss of 3. It's 4th down.
Well, credit that new Vanderbilt logo with the tackle. Great 3rd down play for the Commodores by the new V. And you see really no hesitancy from Florida leaving their offense on the field. But you see Pearsall just slipping.
There's
right
a monster down there.
Yeah.
They're going for it. They're 11 of 24 on 4th down this year. They're at Vandy's 42-yard line. Need to get to the 35 to move the chains. Richardson's got time. One-on-one ball, and it's caught. Dejon Reynolds makes the grab inside the 10. Reynolds with just his 4th catch of the year, and it's a big one.
How about this ball from Anthony Richardson? Great job by Reynolds, maintaining just enough space. You see him kind of hand fighting with Russell. That ball drops right in the bucket. A beautifully thrown football by Anthony Richardson.
31-yard completion.
You see the chains, so they stopped play. Somehow the chains did not make it downfield. The center judge, didn't look as if the center judge was over the football. Florida was ready to snap it. You see the chain crew, and they were back at the
midfield almost.
Yeah, where the original line of scrimmage and line to gain would have been.
And for all the momentum Florida's already created on this drive, Stinch, the red zone's been a house of horrors for Billy Napier's offense. They've had 7 empty red zone trips in the last 3 weeks.
Had 3 opportunities in it. The second half last week did not go well. Came away with just the 1 touchdown.
Burke goes in motion. That's Johnson behind Richardson. And Montrell doesn't get much. C.J. Taylor, who had that game-sealing interception against Kentucky last week, making the tackle.
Keep an eye on the pull, the quarterback pull on some of these rides, these reads. That time, the backside of the Vanderbilt defensive front collapsing and chasing hard. If Anthony Richardson pulls it, it's a walk-in touchdown.
Johnson goes to the backfield with Richardson behind him. And it's Montrell again. He's not going to get much, maybe down to the 9, where Anthony Orchie, the leading tackler in the SEC, does the job there. And so it's now 3rd down for Florida. They can get a 1st down near the 1.
They took that shot downfield earlier. 3rd down, of course, on a sweep, trying to get it to Pearsall. Ends up slipping on the logo. Ended up converting with the shot. But so far, Vanderbilt doing an excellent job inside out in the ground game.
It's the 10th play of the drive. Richardson has trouble with the snap, drops it off to Johnson, but he drops it. He had green field turf in front of him.
Well, C.J. Taylor triggered off the edge. Nick Howell brought pressure. And you could see, Anthony Richardson, you're right, kind of took his eyes off of that snap just for a moment. Didn't have the ball cleanly. I'm not sure it would have mattered because Taylor was unaccounted for. Had a free run at Anthony Richardson.
Adam Mihalik, a redshirt freshman from Tampa, from 26 yards away. And Florida has now scored in an NCAA record 434 consecutive games. That's 58 more than the second longest streak. 3-0 Gators.
Your program takes tough people that are aligned, doing the right things the right way every day. You can't take a day off. We have called you guys back into the fire week after week without the result. Normal people can't do that, but you guys do. That's what today was about. Now we got more left in this season, and we got to go get it. And so we're going to call you back into the fire after we celebrate this. But I just want you to know how proud I am. I'm proud to be with you. I'm proud to be your coach. And these moments we will remember, and no one will ever be able to take this from us, man. Congrats to you guys. And truthfully, as far as the game ball goes, man, like, this game ball is for our program.
Yes, sir. Team. Snapped a 26-game SEC losing streak with that win at Kentucky last week, and you could see it on his face, the emotion. You could hear it in his voice. The interview afterwards, it's over 1,000 days between conference wins, and hadn't done it on the road in almost 1,500 days. They haven't won here, Stench, against an SEC opponent in a few years either. They've lost 12 straight at home, so they got another record they'd like to snap as they go straight up the gut with Ray Davis, who breaks it and gets near a first down at the 35-yard line.
Well, that's a good sign right there. And, of course, getting that stop after a huge fourth down play given up by their defense to force that field goal is big. Of course, Vanderbilt needing to get that ground game going. Ray Davis getting downhill quickly on that run. That will certainly help jumpstart the offense after a quick 3 and out.
Here's a team that could not be competitive last year with a 2-10 record. They are competitive this year. They've had chances to win a number of different SEC games, and then finally got one last week. Movement on the left side of the line.
Of course, Vanderbilt saying that Big Des Watson was the first one to move.
False start offense, number 55. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Well, and that's what triggered it. Watson moves, and
Yeah.
Gunnar Hansen, who's the third different left guard Vandy's had to use this season.
But yeah, he definitely moved, but he wasn't moving forward. It wasn't like an encroachment, right? And so I do think he flinched, there's no question. But that's not one of those where you can initiate contact and get that call. You could see defenses, they'll stem the entire defensive front laterally.
This is Patrick Smith, who just checked in, and he doesn't get much, maybe up to the 31 for a couple. What do you make of Clark Lee's progress in 2022?
Well, I think a lot of it is, first of all, you have to have your cultural imprint, what it matters and what it takes to win games. But I think more than anything else this year is their ability to weather some of the adversity. They've had a couple of guys, key contributors, weren't available early on. They've made changes at quarterback, now have to change back again. But more than anything else, you watch this team, I don't think anybody's playing harder than Vanderbilt football is right now.
Trying to get their first down of the game, and they get it with a great receiver, Will Shepard. His 53rd catch of the year. Moves it 5 yards ahead for the first down.
Big body in Will Shepard. You see him shielding it, and now Vanderbilt using a little bit of tempo over the ball.
Snap this one from their own 37. You see what Shepard did in that game-winning touchdown grab that Mike Wright threw him with 32 seconds left. It was enough to give the Commodores the win over the Wildcats in Lexington. Davis trying to find somewhere to go, but again, as you've said, Stench, they're just clogging the middle. Ventrell Miller, Antoine Powell-Ryland Jr., and Big Dez all were right there.
Well, and what they're doing, Florida is saying, look, basically, we're going to challenge you. Look, there's 7 guys in the box right here. That means that they've got really one more than you have blockers. There's only 6 blockers available for Vanderbilt. Now, you kind of pick up a blocker because your quarterback can run. But you see there, Ventrell Miller, unblocked, in the hole, makes the tackle. What Florida's doing is they're basically challenging Vanderbilt. Hey, beat us throwing the football. They've got one safety out. They've basically got a defender assigned to each eligible receiver out wide and saying, hey, you're going to have to beat us throwing.
They're going to keep running it, though. This is Patrick Smith into Gator territory, down to the 45, and a first down. It's a 17-yard pickup for the sophomore from Atlantic City.
Well, they're able to capture the edge. Watch what they do. Watch Amari Burney right here. He's going to try to crash the line of scrimmage. Watch a little in and out. And he just gets hung up just enough. Probably got away with a tug there by Bresnahan. Didn't matter. Turned loose enough for the official. Smith's able to capture the edge quickly.
264 yards rushing last week, the most versus an SEC team in 11 years. That ball was deflected at the line of scrimmage, and it'll set up a second down. Jason Marshall in coverage there on Mike Wright. Was the starter the first 2 games, then the red zone specialist for a few, then a part-time player before A.J. Swan's head injury a couple weeks ago against South Carolina, and he's once again the starter.
Well, he's been an explosive playmaker, has been. The coaches said that. The problem was he wanted to be able to sustain drives. It was a boom or bust offense.
Tosses it to Davis, gets blocking in front, and that speed is shown off as he gets inside the 40. Jason Marshall makes the tackle, and it'll be third down.
Will Shepard's a heck of an athlete, no doubt. But watch him right here come inside and get a block. Seal the edge. You're going to pull your tackle out and around. Look at Shepard. That's on Amari Burney, one of the better defenders.
Straight up the gut. Doesn't get much. Amari Burney on the tackle. It'll be 4th down, and that Vanderbilt offense is staying on the field.
Well, we saw Florida do this earlier. Florida took a shot downfield. Passing game, a little bit different proposition for Vanderbilt. You see this 4th down attempt. And on the 3rd down, of course, you had to think on that run play that they were thinking 4-down territory. You see Shepard there in motion, heading to the bottom of your screen.
Looks that way, throws that way, and he gets it inside the 30, and he loses the football inside the 25. Had the 1st down, but then coughed it up. Jaden Hill recovers it.
It was Ventrell Miller who pops this football out. It's a couple of weeks in a row now with this issue, and Florida with a big stop. The Vanderbilt offense was driving, and the Gators get the ball back.
SEC Network Football is presented by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem.
Backdrop here, the Music City in Nashville on this gorgeous November Saturday. Shepard makes the catch, but you said it. Miller comes in there. He's part of the group that forces that fumble, and Florida has forced a turnover in every game this season.
You see the way that they've been able to generate those takeaways. Had 3 of them last week versus South Carolina. Incidentally, all fumbles.
Trevor Etienne, the true freshman, is standing next to Richardson. Fakes it to him. Richardson loads up and throws that laser to Justin Shorter for a 1st down up at the 38-yard line. Shorter missed last week's game with the leg injury. He's number 1 in the SEC with yards per reception.
And one of Anthony Richardson's favorite targets in the passing game. You see that early play action down to get it downfield.
14-yard pickup. Etienne doesn't get much, might have lost half a yard on his first carry of the game. True freshman had an 85-yard breakaway run against the Gamecocks last week.
He's showing that speed more than anything else. Almost had 3 rushers with over 100 net rushing yards last week versus South Carolina, to include Anthony Richardson. And Etienne, always a threat. If you give him a crease, he can take it to the house at any moment.
Richardson, the line of scrimmage throw is dropped by Ty Jokio Bowman. And Jokio Bowman with the incompletion. Let's go back to the studio, get an update from Peter Burns.
Monster weekend, guys, when it comes to college football playoff. TCU undefeated, sitting a perfect 10-0. Dave Aranda's squad says, well, let's see if we can do something about it. Baylor scores. They just missed a field goal that would have made it 10-0, but Bears up a touchdown.
Okay, keep us updated, PB, outside the footprint today. It could have a massive impact on SEC teams getting into the playoff. 3rd and 10. Gators have been great on 3rd down so far. Richardson lost it. Jokio Bowman had beat the defender, but Richardson threw it too far. 4th down.
We saw Richardson with a perfect throw earlier. Just dropped it right over his receiver's shoulder, and this time Jokio Bowman didn't have a shot at that one. At least 5 yards overthrown.
We'll continue to talk about Richardson's progression as a passer throughout this game. You have to raise about the side, the speed, the strength, the athleticism. Still have to remember he has not played that much football at this level. Jeremy Crawshaw's punt is a good one inside the 20. It's a 44-yard punt. Vanderbilt back on offense, down 3. Check it off your bucket list if you've never been. Texas, one of the best cities in America. Nashville, Tennessee. We're here for the Gators and the Commodores today. A lot of Florida fans have made it up this way. At 4 Eastern, it's Western Kentucky taking on Auburn. Then our SEC Saturday night matchup tonight, it's number 14 Ole Miss taking on Arkansas. Both games are also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Ray Davis takes the carry. He's got wide open space, gets the edge, and gets past the 40. That's a pickup of 25, Stinch.
We talked about it in the open. What a great run game both these offenses had coming in. You're pulling both your play side guard and tackle. Great job by the right side of the Vanderbilt offensive front. There's a couple of clean inserts for Ray Davis early in this game, and a Florida Gator defender a little shaken up right there on the Vanderbilt sideline.
That's Rashad Torrance, who had a good week last week. Let's go down to Alyssa.
Clark Lee talks, guys, so much about how important it is to have great leaders for what they're trying to do here at Vanderbilt. And Ray Davis has been one of those leaders since the moment he got to Nashville, and certainly for the last couple of seasons. I talked to him this year, and he said that he has an enormous chip on his shoulder every single game. He said he dealt with a lot of criticism over the last couple of years, coming off of an injury, dealing with people saying that you shouldn't be in the SEC, you don't belong in the SEC. So he takes that personally, not only in trying to improve his game, but trying to help this team, trying to get this offense to a place where they want it to be. Mike Wright loves having Davis behind him, saying, yeah, it helps take a little bit of pressure off of me, knowing that I can hand it off. And as we just saw from Davis, taking off on a big chunk play.
He has had a terrific year, 4th in the SEC in rushing, and he's had 2 huge weeks in a row over South Carolina and Kentucky. That would not be good for the Gators right there, Stinch. That's a vocal leader of the secondary. Rashad Torrance, a sophomore, had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery against the Gamecocks last week.
Yeah, you can see as he's slow to leave the field of play, not really limping. Didn't see him grabbing at anything. I don't know if he just got a little bit shaken up a little bit at the end of that play. The way that they were looking at him on the sideline. As you mentioned, that's a sizable void. You see Billy Napier going over to check on one of the leaders of his defense. Watch the end of this play. He just kind of fell face first. I don't know if maybe some of those little granules popped up in his eyes.
Davis doesn't get much, maybe a yard, as Jervon Dexter Sr. comes in to make the tackle. Dexter has his girlfriend quiz him on the calls, Stinch, going into every game. He had that one read perfectly.
Yeah, didn't he, though? No, one of those guys, really smart player, really engaged in the game plan. Defensive coordinator Patrick Toney was talking about those D-line guys, wants to make sure he's mentally prepared. He's definitely got the physical attributes, and that time read the play well.
This is the 11th time that Vanderbilt has run the football. They don't get much here. Davis gets a yard. Ventrell Miller, the super senior, with the tackle.
And that time, Ventrell Miller and Amari Burney. Great job defeating blocks at the point of attack. So what Vanderbilt's been doing, and where they've had a couple of successful runs, or pin and pull runs where they block down and pull around. Now the question will be, can they convert on a 3rd down? You saw earlier, and you'll see Will Shepard, he's in the bottom of this bunch right here. He's one of the favorite targets on 3rd down, has been again today.
Did have the fumble the last time, though. Wright's got time, and he'll get out of there. He's the fastest quarterback in the SEC, but Antoine Powell Ryland Jr. with a great tackle to prevent a first. There is a flag down at the end of the play. This came in very late.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 33 defense. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
It's Princely Uman-Mielen.
What they did with Powell Ryland is he was kind of already bluffed up in the line of scrimmage. He ends up kind of spying and hanging back. Watch him trigger. And then we talked about Mike Wright. That guy's got great speed. Really, Wright had a chance to dump it to Ray Davis, who was thinking play as a receiver. Instead, they ended up having an unnecessary roughness call on that play.
Get some new life at the 33. Wright keeps it, takes it away from Wright, or from Smith rather, and that was the right decision. Let's check this last play again, Stench, on where Uman Mielen.
Oh yeah, right there. I mean, you see it right there, just shoving a guy in the back at the end of the play.
The referee threw the flag immediately.
I mean, there's guys everywhere. I mean, there's refs all over the field. It's stupid to do it like that. I mean, you shove a guy right in the back, right in front of the white hat, for crying out loud.
Vanderbilt is inside the Florida 30. They're down 3-0, looking for their first SEC home win in a few years after that win in Lexington last Saturday. Look at those rush yards through the first quarter. Florida does have the lead 3-0 in part because Vanderbilt had a fumble as Will Shepard was converting a fourth down play, fumbled on their last drive as they were driving into Florida territory, but they're driving again, Stench, running the football every play on this drive, 5 carries for over 30 yards.
And this drive extended. Would have had a third down stop probably. Instead had that unnecessary roughness.
Patrick Smith is in the backfield with the right, breaks a tackle, and gets inside the 35. It'll be 3rd and short.
A tough run by Patrick Smith that time. I mean, he had to earn every inch. So you see big Javon Dexter tossing him back, send him a couple of times. Now 3rd and short. We've seen a couple of times for Vanderbilt forced to try to convert on 3rd downs. The previous one, Mike Wright had to scramble. Florida had him stopped and unsportsmanlike extended this drive. Now here on the red zone fringe.
Vandy just 1 of 3 on 3rd down. Davis, though, look at the speed. There is a flag down in the backfield. If this stands, Vanderbilt gets a first inside the 12, but it's in the neighborhood of holding.
Holding. Offense number 66. 10-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Jacob Brammer, the right tackle.
Yeah, so right tackle. Jacob Brammer, the transfer right here. You see, you got to turn loose. And of course, the defenders always very helpfully throw their arms up in the air so that the officials can notice I was held.
Sounds like a flashback.
Yeah, I'll beg for a call, man. But that was obviously hands outside by Brammer. You got to try to keep those clean. You know, Vanderbilt got away with one a little bit earlier on a big run.
Obvious passing situation. Wright hasn't used his arm at all in this drive yet. And he's not going to get a chance here. Antoine Powell-Ryland Jr. has been terrific the last 3 weeks, but there's a flag down. It's a face mask penalty that goes against the Gators.
First down.
Powell-Ryland beat the protector around the edge, Stench, but commits the personal foul.
Yeah, it was Brammer again. Just beat him right now, but then gets a handful of face mask. So twice now, Vanderbilt able to extend this drive with penalties both on 3rd down, both of the 15-yard variety. Well, Powell-Ryland was involved on the tackle on the previous 3rd down. And Billy Napier can't believe it. That's 30 yards in penalties and both on key downs.
He disagrees, Stench. He didn't think that he really got the face mask. He thought he got the side of his jersey instead. There's a toss to Davis, and Davis dives ahead for 3, maybe 4 extra yards.
You see, obviously, Vanderbilt, they're trying to get outside. Billy Napier still can't believe it. Defense was dominant last week versus South Carolina in the second half versus A&M. Let's take a look at that would-be face mask. And, oh, yeah, I mean, it definitely had a piece of that face mask initially. He may have ended up with some jersey, but you could see his head getting pulled to the left.
Vanderbilt from the Gators 16. And Davis maybe for a yard. Vanderbilt's been terrific in the red zone this season. They're 27 of 30 with 22 touchdowns, which is third best in the Southeastern Conference. But they're going to have to convert a 3rd and 6 here.
And just not a ton of running room, between the guards. Now, they've been able to get to the edge just outside the tackles and onto the perimeter, but not on the inside runs. You can see him on that last 3rd down. Keep an eye, he's just barely on the screen. Will Shepard down there.
They keep it on the ground, and Davis gets the edge and gets the first down.
Antoine Powell-Ryland that time got reached. Loss contained. 52 on the edge. You see there he's engaged just enough. Didn't quite get reached. Boy, Brammer.
Let go at the right time,
That's
didn't he?
right. You got to know when to turn loose, and boy, just barely. Because if they get their shoulders turned on those outside runs, the flag is coming out.
Here comes the 10th play of the drive, and it's the 10th run of the drive, and Davis is going backwards. Ventrell Miller on the stop.
Now you wait, I've said it before, when Florida had the ball, QB pull game, when they're reading the backside of some of these zone runs especially, they'll read that backside edge defender. If they're crashing, they'll pull it and get out on the edge. We haven't seen that in this game from either one of these quarterbacks. Mike Wright, right now, he's only got the 2 rush attempts.
2nd and goal outside the 10. Wright keeps it, and he's lucky to get inside the 10. It'll be 3rd and goal as Powell-Ryland and Amari Burney were there.
And that time, Ventrell Miller comes crashing down. Amari Burney had eyes on the quarterback right there.
Stinch, do you throw the football for the first time on the drive on the 3rd and goal, or do you take your points?
I think you throw the football right here. I mean, you got to get it to the end zone. If you come up short, you've got an easy chip shot field goal. Give your offense a chance to score. Shepard at the bottom, singled up. You got a safety that's probably going to rock over to help.
Wright's looking the other way instead, throws underneath, and it's a perfect ball for a touchdown. It's Jaden McGowan for the 3rd time this year.
You see McGowan? How about this? Pivot right back out. That ball is perfect. Well thrown by Mike Wright. We were watching him in warm-ups. He wasn't always dialed in, even against air. That time, he laid that football out perfectly. McGowan pivoted right out of that route.
And Bulovis makes the extra point. 12 plays, 81 yards, 11 runs, and then the only pass of the drive is a touchdown. Mike Wright to the true freshman Jaden McGowan. Vanderbilt on top in the 2nd quarter. Vanderbilt scores the touchdown right to McGowan that gives them the lead over the Gators with 10:04 to go in the 2nd quarter. Vanderbilt already with 87 rushing yards. Florida has minus 13, in part because they had a bad snap that lost 18 yards. It goes against their rushing total, but they have not established the ground game yet with Montrell Johnson or with Trevor Etienne. Etienne is coming out. There is a flag down, and there's another one down, and he is out of bounds at the 24-yard line. We got flags on each side of the field that Steve Marlowe is going to have to sort out.
Yeah, so here comes everybody. Hey, here's what I saw. Here's what I saw. Look, the kicking team's off sides. And then on the return, it looked as if there's probably going to be at least a holding penalty.
Mark Searles, who's been a referee in the league for a long time, the center judge today. Marlowe's going to go over and see what Florida wants to do.
2 fouls on the play. Offside, kicking team number 37. During the return, holding number 15 receiving team. The fouls will offset. Re-kick.
Let's try again. Try this again, Stinch, on this beautiful Saturday in Nashville. Not as cold as I was thinking. I know Alyssa might have some comments about that. We're outside too, just for the record, up here on this television deck.
Yeah, like a broadcast patio.
It's beautiful down here, guys. I layered appropriately. So it's good. Great football weather in the SEC.
Temperature north of 40 degrees. We will take it. Saw the forecast a few days ago that Alyssa sent us and said 25.
I was nervous then.
Thinking about everybody in Buffalo. Holy cow, what a storm that was. 6 feet of snow up there. And now all that just to put the ball at the 25-yard line. Hey, Peter Burns, what's happening elsewhere, my friend?
Hello, Taylor Zarzer. A little studio update. Wackiness in Waco after TCU even the score. Baylor Bears says, all right, it's going to be one of those score fests. And, by the way, then Baylor threw a 90-yard pass. They're about to score. Might be 14 all. Hey, just a chaotic day around the conference and college football. If you looked at Mississippi State, 28-0 right now. But A&M and UMass tied at 3.
Oh, boy. Just a disastrous season for Jimbo Fisher's Aggies. They've lost 6 in a row. If TCU loses, you'd have to think if Tennessee wins out, they're a lock for the playoff if Baylor wins that game today. Gators get back on offense and throw the ball to Dejon Reynolds. He'll get a couple up to the 28-yard line as Richardson throws him the ball. What do you think of this game plan so far in offense from Billy Napier? Haven't really seen much of the ground game yet.
Yeah, it's been a little bit surprising. Got off the bus throwing the football in this one. And haven't really enjoyed a ton of success. You think about that 4th down throw to get the conversion and push it down into field goal range. Otherwise, the Gator offense has not really been able to get untracked.
On 2nd and 7, he'll throw again. Drifting back, and he slings it sidearm to Reynolds. He's past the 35, and he gets a 1st down out to the 37-yard line.
Surprised there wasn't a flag come out for a late hit. Ethan Barr came in there, and maybe they're saying he tried to let up. Regardless, good job by Anthony Richardson of buying enough time. You see that arm strength, right? He's falling backwards and to his right, just flips it out there. I don't know how that isn't a late hit. Ethan Barr easily could have avoided that contact.
10 passes, 6 runs so far. There's the 7th, and it's breaking free as Johnson into the secondary up to the 45-yard line for 8 yards. And, you know, it's not that big of a disparity run to pass so far, Stinch, but if you've watched the Gators the last few weeks, they run it 50-plus times against the Aggies and the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting on it. 54 rush attempts a game ago. It's 104. Now you see just with that carry alone, it gets them almost back to even. They're still in the red, or the blue as it were, -5 rushing yards, only 82 total so far in this one.
And this is another passing play. Richardson plenty of time, and he fires it down to the 40-yard line, rifling it to Jalkio Bowman for a 1st down, 15 more.
That's one of those deep crossers that we were talking about with the Vanderbilt coaching staff. They run the play action. They get an opportunity, you bring a receiver all the way across the formation, and can be difficult that time, Winter versus Worship.
And it slings it out to Douglas, and Caleb with a turn and catch, and that gets it right at the 1st down marker at the 31. There's a lot of guys, Douglas, Reynolds, Burke, Jalkio Bowman, who have not played much, not caught a lot of balls all year, Stinch, but with Jaquavion Frazier's season-ending touchdown catch 2 weeks ago against the Aggies, Xavier Henderson's out today, new faces have emerged.
Yeah, Caleb Douglas was the leading receiver for the Gators last week, just 3 catches for 53. Right now, 8 completions, 6 different receivers getting in on the passing game for the Gators.
On 1st and 10, and there's a break by Johnson inside the 20. There is a flag down as he gets inside the 5. Everybody's headed back.
Illegal formation, offense, more than 4 players in the backfield. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Florida's one of the least penalized teams in the league, but it's been a house of horrors in the first half on both sides of offense and defense.
Well, you see, right? So they're saying both these receivers are back off the line of scrimmage. Well, those guys needs to be up and on. You can't have that many. You got to have 7.
You see only 39 yards a game. 35 today. Stick with Johnson, and he gets down to the 31 where Mr. Tackler himself, Anthony Orgiu, averages 9.5 per game to lead the SEC and makes another one.
Number 0 had a big game last week versus Kentucky. We were talking with defensive coordinator Nick Howell. He's kind of rolls guys through there. It's Ethan Barr, it's Anthony Orji, it's Kane Patterson. Hadn't called Kane Patterson's name yet today. Orji's one of those guys, they just want to be able to run and hit. You know, they allow Barr to handle most of the coordinating of that defense. They want number 0 to be the playmaker.
Etienne runs into a gang of Commodores inside the 29, led by Elijah McAllister.
And both of those guys, both linebackers engaged in that one as well. You know, so now you'll ask Anthony Richardson. We've already seen this, of course, in this game. But the distribution where he'll push it around. Running backs get into it. Tight ends aren't used a ton. You see the backs out of the backfield almost as much. It's the receivers where they generate it almost entirely.
Gators are 1 of 4 on 3rd down, and it's another 3rd and long. They stick on the ground with Etienne, and he gets down to the 27, where he's tackled by C.J. Taylor. It's 4th down. Let's see if Napier brings on the kicking team. He will.
A bit of frustration, I think, for Billy Napier. Probably trying to catch him. See if they can pop a run right there. I'm a little bit surprised if you're going to run it right there. Typically, it's pick up yards and you're thinking 4 downs. Given where they are, they actually kind of pivoted to the run game. Didn't think we'd ever say that in this one. On that drive especially, trying to move the football.
It's a 44-yard attempt. And Adam Mahalik makes it 7-6. Well, we had a horrible tragedy that happened last Sunday in Charlottesville, Virginia. As you see Nick Howell, the defensive coordinator for Vanderbilt's wearing Virginia colors today. 3 UVA football players were shot and killed and 2 others wounded on campus in Charlottesville late Sunday night. And the suspect, a former Cavaliers player, is charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder and several other felonies. Killed were junior receivers Lavelle Davis Jr. and Devin Chandler, and junior defensive end and linebacker Deshaun Perry. The 2 wounded include junior running back Mike Hollins, who remains in the hospital and underwent a second surgery to remove a bullet from his stomach. The world of college football is in mourning, and everyone connected to Virginia's football program is devastated over these senseless murders, especially Nick Howell. He recruited these young men, coached them, loved them. Our hearts are with Virginia. Gator cheerleaders bundled up today. Temperatures in the 40s. That's cold for Florida fans that have made their way up to Nashville. Second Adam Mahalik field goal makes it a 7-6 Vanderbilt lead. And McGowan from the 6. And Jaden gets past the 35, where Mahalik makes the tackle. Vanderbilt with the football and the lead in the second quarter. Let's check out the mayhem moment brought to you by Allstate.
Well, you happen early. When you think about the passing game, boy, Mike Wright, we know he can run the football. How about laying one out there for McGowan and getting in there for the score? And, you know, early on in this game, we talked about it. There could be momentum for both these teams coming into it. And Vanderbilt, building on that big win last week versus Kentucky, is still going to make their living in the ground game, but got in the end zone in the air.
The lead and the football at their own 39-yard line. Smith breaking tackles, and he's past the 45 up to the 46, Alyssa.
Vanderbilt touchdown coaches were really pleased with the 12-play, 6.5-minute drive, really emphasizing their happiness with the control, with the execution, all 11 guys being on the same page despite that holding call we saw in that last offensive drive. A ton of confidence coming from this offense right now, instilled to them by coaches after what they just did on the last one.
Well, and Stinch, you've already alluded to it. The effort is something that can always be impacted and improved, and Vanderbilt has plenty of it. They want more talent, they want more speed as they build their program, but they can't have less effort than the opposition. They've had plenty today. Mike Wright on a 2nd and 3, pumps, throws, incomplete, looking for Shepard.
Well, Florida, before that false clap right there, they showed what was going to be an all-out blitz, cover 0, but watch McGowan right here. He's getting up wide open downfield. Look at this. And Mike Wright's just working the left side of the formation. McGowan's running. That's a touchdown easily. Protection was there. He just got locked in left side and couldn't come back to his slot receiver.
Third and 3. Right, and that ball almost picked off as Kamari Wilson read it perfectly. 4th down.
Well, you said it. Read it perfectly. That's a pick 6 going the other way. Kamari Wilson comes up with it. You see Mike Wright, he's just locked in on it. He wants to go to Will Shepard. It's 3rd down. He's looking for the slant. Wilson's underneath that one. Cannot believe he doesn't come up with it. Boy, he read it so well. He actually overshot it. He almost broke too early, and the ball was behind him. We saw a couple of throws like that last week from Mike Wright, where he put the ball in jeopardy, just predetermined where he wanted to go with the ball.
Hayball punts for the 2nd time. And Marshall calls for the fair catch, but he muffs it. It's in the end zone, live ball. It's a Vanderbilt touchdown if they have it. It's a touchback for Florida if they do. Wait for the signal. Touchdown, Vanderbilt. Wesley Schelling, the long snapper, recovered it.
We signaled for that fair catch, but the ball, he misjudged the trajectory of the ball. Kamarian Carter looked like he was going to come up with it. How does Schelling end up with this football?
Look where he is right now.
I think he ended up taking it away from his own teammate. You see there, misjudged the ball. Carter comes in there. I don't know how Schelling ends up with it. I think he ended up taking it from his own teammate. Look at him grind and digging in there. Kamarian Carter was the first one down. Regardless, Vanderbilt with a huge special teams play. You see it there. It was a fair catch that was called. Carter's the first one in there, and Schelling comes shooting in there late. I mean, he was the one with the football coming out of that pile.
It's the 4th fumble recovery for a touchdown this year for Vanderbilt, and Pearl Cone High School's Wesley Schelling from Nashville, Tennessee, recovers it. Those are the effort-type plays that allow your football program to make progress when you lead the country in a stat like that, and it's 14-6 Vanderbilt.
Talk about momentum plays. Yeah, of course, they had a drive that was extended with a couple of penalties. They were able to capitalize. The special teams, a miscue by the Gators. How about Vanderbilt? Building on that win versus Kentucky, they're trying to string together a couple of conference wins here this afternoon.
What's up, y'all? Coming up on the Farm Branch Halftime Report, we get you ready for Georgia, Kentucky a little bit later today. Top 25 matchups, including TCU and Baylor, and a good one in Waco. What are you seeing from your...
I tried to warn you from firsthand experience playing in Vanderbilt there. Early games, cold weather. We've seen mistakes. You've seen ill-advised decisions. They've got to clean it up. Get AR running.
Yeah, that's it. Chris, that last point that CD just made is one that you would wonder about here as we get ready for that Florida offense to come back on the field. And Alyssa, there are a couple of injured Gators on top of that.
Yeah, on top of that, dealing with some banged up guys. You see the Florida offense about to take the field again. They'll do that without wide receiver Ricky Pearsall. Right now, he's questionable with a lower body injury. He may or may not return. Also on the other side of the ball, safety Rashad Torrance, also dealing with a lower body, also questionable to come back, guys.
Does that mean more of Montrell Johnson? Here he is, going straight ahead, outside the 35, near the 40-yard line. It's a pickup of 15 for the sophomore.
And this is what we've been waiting on. Looks like a flag out late. You think about it, the penalties have really plagued Florida this afternoon on the earlier offensive possession and illegal formation.
The result of the play is a first down. After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 65, offense. It's a 15-yard penalty. It will be 1st and 10.
That's 50 yards of penalties so far on the Gators. Several personal fouls. That's Kingsley Egwakin.
Oh, yeah. He's just coming in there trying to pick the pile is what we call it, but the ball's dead. He's already down on the ground. Then you come in there late, and you want to bowling ball like 3 or 4 defenders. It's just stupid penalties. We've seen 2 of them. Completely
negates the run. It's the third personal foul that Florida has committed here in the first half. 2:58 left, and we'll try Johnson again. He'll lose yardage this time. It's a loss of 2 on the play. Is Kane Patterson, the name you were asking for, Stench, on the tackle?
Yeah, we haven't called his name yet. You see the difference in penalties year over year, and it's not so much the numbers, the yards per game. 39 yards a game this year versus 70 a season ago. 120th. We've done a much better job, but not here today. It's been the difference really here in this first half. Extending drives for Vanderbilt and snuffing drives for Florida.
2nd and 11 for Richardson. That's the underneath throw. Jalkio Bowman up to the 31 and a half. And it'll be third and short for Richardson. So far passing today is thrown for over 100 yards.
You think about that productivity. You just don't see a ton of that from Richardson. It looks like he's, for a moment, it almost looked like he was going to line up under center. Something we don't see very often.
Richardson stands there, throws incomplete into traffic. Getting his hand on the football is C.J. Taylor. Richardson trying to find the tight end, Jonathan Odom, and it's another Florida punt.
Yeah, they ran like a mesh route. They're looking to see if they could get just that natural pick right over the ball. 2 shallow crosses. You see Jalen Mahoney was all over that one. Yeah, check that. And great job and coverage by C.J. Taylor, who got across in front of Odom. And again, excellent 3rd down defense. Think about those penalties.
Another Crawshaw punt. And Vanderbilt just about got to that one. Crawshaw with a cannon that goes over the head of Will Shepard. And Vanderbilt will start at the 10-yard line after a 58-yard punt. Well, Mr. Stinchcomb. Florida 6-4 on the season, maybe on the verge of the top 25 before their game against Florida State next week. Instead's in a dogfight with the Commodores here today.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those opportunities. You see Billy Napier is earlier, he's just a little bit, he's got to be vexed by the way this game has gone. And I got to say that penalties has played such a huge role in it, not just the special teams play, but they have really stymied themselves offensively, and then defensively, they've had key personal fouls on third downs, incidentally, to extend drives.
Florida does have all three of their timeouts. Wright will take off, and he'll get ahead to the 16-yard line where Ventrell Miller makes the tackle.
And we're looking at the directional rushes by these quarterbacks. And Mike Wright, he makes a lot of yardage where he's able to get upfield. Now, part of that's because of the QB draw. That's a designed run. We've seen that a number of times, but he'll escape up in the middle as well. And Clark Lee's, he's referenced it. Knows that he's got playmaking ability at quarterback.
Just a little surprised that Billy Napier didn't think about a timeout there. He does get the football first in the second half and has all three of his timeouts left. Davis goes to the ground, and it'll be third down at the 19-yard line. And now Florida will use one.
That's a good point, Taylor, when you think about it, because you could have preserved probably, another 25 seconds on the clock prior to that previous run. Vanderbilt sitting here thinking, let's bleed it down, see if we can limit possessions. Instead, you end up losing about, 30-plus seconds hanging on to that timeout. As you mentioned, with the full complement of them, a chance to get the ball back, you force a third down. Now, key for that defense to find a way to bow their necks. We hadn't seen a lot of rushing yardage between the tackles straight downhill, so a third and short isn't necessarily a given, especially given the size that Florida has along their front. But you could have given yourself, maybe closer to a minute. Net that punt, call it 40 seconds or so, at least to work with on a relatively short field, if you get the stop here defensively.
If Vanderbilt moves the chains, Clark Lee's team most likely will head into the locker room with an 8-point lead. Wright and Davis next to each other as usual in the backfield. It'll be Davis, first down, Commodores past the 25.
I'm not mattering either way. But regardless, you think about the way this first half has unfolded, Vanderbilt couldn't be more pleased, I think, with the circumstance.
Coming up at halftime, watch the live performance of the Spirit of Gold on SEC Network Plus. Start streaming now on the ESPN app. Vanderbilt gets a fumble recovery on a muffed punt in the end zone for a touchdown. Mike Wright found Jaden McGowan for a touchdown catch on the only throw of the drive. The Commodores are up 8 at the break over the Gators. And down to Alyssa with Clark Lee.
Coach, you talk a lot about effort plays. What did that play on special teams resulting in that touchdown do for your team?
Well, that's a huge swing of momentum there and a big boost for us heading to halftime. We got to capitalize on their mistakes, and to be in position to do that means a lot. We got to keep that up.
How's your run defense been able to be so effective so far?
Well, when we're playing in structure, we have people where we need to be. We've had a couple of runs leak on us there, and it's just about us doing our job, 1 of 11. Obviously, when we've done that, we've been successful. When we haven't, they're dangerous. So we got to come back, reset, refocus here at halftime.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Vanderbilt 14, Florida 6. At the break, Florida gets it first in the second half. How about this one, Mr. Burns?
Anchor down. How about those doors? Welcome to the Farm Ridge Halftime Report.
This is SEC Network Football presented by Allstate on a beautiful day in Nashville. The home team, the Vanderbilt Commodores, lead the Gators 14-6 going to the third quarter. He's Matt. I'm Taylor. Alyssa's down there on that field, I promise. I'm going to get taller here for just a second.
Nice.
How about what the Gators went through in that first half? Costly turnovers and committing a bunch of personal fouls that gave Vanderbilt new life.
Yeah, that's the story really more than anything else. And we talked about a little bit in the first half how offensively they had their drives stall out. You think about the personal fouls, the procedure penalty as well, and then defensively extending drives for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt doing an excellent job of finding a way to capitalize on those. Mike Wright didn't attempt a ton of passes, but boy, when he did, it counted the most, got in the end zone, opened up the scoring for Vanderbilt after holding Florida to a field goal, and then misjudging a punt on a fair catch. Vanderbilt does a great job getting down there. Gamarion Carter was there first, but William Schelling the long snapper ends up with the football. There's a huge swing in this football game, and you look at the rushing yards, only 17 for Florida, and Anthony Richardson has 0 carries in this game so far.
Shocking for one of the best running quarterbacks in the country. It is time now for Every Detail Counts, brought to you by Pfizer. We were showing you those rushing numbers. How about only 12 attempts so far in the first half? Florida had more than 50 each of the last 2 games. We'll see if they establish the ground game here in the second half, Alyssa.
Just talked to head coach Billy Napier, asked him what the emphasis was to his team at the break, and you guys nailed it. He said everything that we dealt with in the first half has been self-inflicted wounds, mistakes that we have made on both sides of the football. We have to get that cleaned up if we want to get back ahead in this thing. I also asked him about their run production from their quarterback, Anthony Richardson, if he wanted to see more of that. He said every
here
play.
It is. Here it is right here, Alyssa. There is on cue. Finish your thought there. There's a 7-yard gain.
Yeah, and to what Billy Napier told me, every play that Florida runs offensively can be a run play for Anthony Richardson. He did give Vanderbilt credit with forcing Anthony to at times hand the football off instead, but you just saw him take off for that one.
And like you said, you didn't see it at all in the first half, and he does it on the first 2 plays of the second half. So clearly what Billy was saying to Alyssa was something he also said to his team.
Yeah, no question. You got to get the ball in your playmaker's hands. The best playmaker in this Florida offense is number 15, and we just didn't see enough of it there in the first half. You're sitting there going, it's for Florida. We got to find ways to jump start and get started fast here in the third quarter. Number 15 needs to end up with the ball in his hands more often at the end of the play. Back-to-back, 1 called run, 1 read with Anthony Richardson carrying it.
They're 1 of 6 on third down today. Richardson will throw, and it's caught. Nice grab at the 45 by Shorter.
They do this a lot. They'll boot him out of the pocket, off of play action, get him on the run. I think this is more of a comfort zone for him, especially I think helps with his timing. When he's running with the direction of the receiver, he's had some difficulty with crossing routes.
Fake to Johnson. Richardson stands tall back there, has plenty of time, and throws a dart down to the 40 to Dejon Reynolds. It's 15 more for Reynolds, who's having a breakout day. He only had 3 catches on the season coming into the game, and he's got 3 in this game alone. And from that 40-yard line, now it's Johnson looking for running room. He's going to lose a bunch of yards. 5, in fact, back to the 45-yard line as C.J. Taylor and Nate Clifton converged on him.
A big negative yardage play there because Florida was clipping right along. Nowhere to go initially. So they ended up forcing Johnson to try to bubble his run, try to bounce it to the outside. A great job by the Vanderbilt defensive front, not only collapsing the intended hole, but getting upfield quickly to create a negative yardage play. Just as good as a penalty that we've seen.
Look at those numbers for one of the best tailbacks in the SEC. Second and 15. Richardson's feeling pressure, and he slings it out to the sideline in front of Reynolds, incomplete. 3rd and 15.
Well, you said it, the pressure, and I think he felt it. Ended up rushing that throw as it was coming out. Richard was coming from the backside. You saw him going in there earlier, I think getting a little bit more snaps because B.J. Anderson. And now the question becomes, you're at 3rd and 10 plus and plus territory. Now we saw Florida in the first half in plus territory go for it on 4th down. In fact, that was their best downfield passing play with the empty backfield here. likelihood that they'll not only extend this play, but perhaps move the pocket to the left.
Quick slant. Shorter sits down at the 38-yard line. But it's 4th down. And about 8 to go.
You see no hesitancy again from the Florida sideline. They were thinking 4-down territory the entire time. ETN was practically standing on the field before that last play was snapped.
Well, you said it, the play of the game for Florida was the completion they had earlier today on 4th down.
Look at him. You see Richardson. It looks like he's asking for the play call again.
On 4th and 8. Wide open. Caught. Inside the 15 is Shorter.
And just like last time on 4th down. How about the touch on this ball? And you bring it up because the knock on Richardson's been he doesn't throw catchable balls. Well, he lays it right in there. That time on the inside shoulder.
ETN plows his way down to the 5. How about Anthony Richardson on the 2 4th down plays today? Big completions, over 20 yards each time.
Last time, of course, Vanderbilt was able to bow their necks and force a field goal attempt. This time, deeper in the red zone, knocking on the door, the deepest penetration that we've seen for the Florida offense in this game.
Johnson comes back in, and he's at the Wildcat position. He's being patient, and he gets down to the 3. Ethan Barr and Darren Agu came up to make the tackle.
How about that by the front? Great job. Not only holding the point, as you said, Agu up there standing up Johnson. Just trying to find a hole, pick up an extra gap with that direct snap. Richardson was off to the left side of the formation.
Florida down 8 at the break. Comes out, and this is the 11th play of the drive to start the second half. We'll snap it from the Vandy 3. Pistol set for Richardson. Fakes the toss ahead, throws, touchdown to Johnson. C.J. Taylor was all over Richardson. AR didn't let it bother him. Touchdown Gators.
Came out in the second half, running the football. Kind of ignited this drive. Anthony Richardson showing that poise, using his size. And I'll tell you what, he looks a little banged up as they're setting up to go for 2.
Go ahead and try to tie the game on the first possession of the second half.
You got Shorter uncovered at the bottom of your screen. You see here, they're just now able to make that adjustment.
Mahoney goes down there to cover him. Jalkio Bowman, bad throw as it's deflected. C.J. Taylor, more pressure again, and Vandy keeps the lead.
And that time, there's so much pre-snap motion in the Florida offense. Justin Shorter was just uncovered.
Had to have a touchdown to come out in the second half, and that's what Richardson gets. They don't get the 2-pointer, though. Vandy still on top. Vanderbilt has not beaten the Gators since 2013. They haven't won here since 1988. I'll tell you more about that victory over Florida in just a second. Here's the kickoff. Picked up at the 4-yard line by McGowan. And he breaks another tackle, and Jaden with another good kick return out past the 30-yard line. You saw James Franklin in that graph, in that picture They beat the Gators 9 years ago down in Gainesville. Commodores creating 4 turnovers off Florida quarterback Tyler Murphy, and Commodore tailback Jerron Seymour made them pay, scoring 3 times. Vandy wins 34-17, and they finished that season with 9 wins for the second straight year. But James Franklin left for Penn State after the season, and the program hasn't beaten Florida, won a bowl game, or finished with a winning record since then, Stinch.
Well, the story here in this game will be is this third quarter. And we saw Vanderbilt's found themselves in this position before versus Ole Miss. Played a great first half. They got to survive the third.
Ray Davis comes out running, and he gets a couple, 3 yards. Davis ran for 65 in the first half.
Ray Davis has not really been able to get going in this ground game. We talked about it in the first half. The Gator defense is going to continue to challenge Vanderbilt to throw the football and find ways to force the ball into the air or to the perimeter. Has not been a lot of runs inside.
Movement on the right side of the line.
Offense, number 66, 5-yard penalty, second down.
And Antoine Powell-Ryland was across Brammers again. And Brammers got popped with the holding penalty earlier, the first half. And you see just a couple of times where we've seen Vanderbilt offensive linemen leaving early. The defenders, they're flinching a little bit, but it's not like they're trying to instigate that movement.
Vandy's had different starters at every offensive line position this season. They haven't given up any sacks today, though. Wright is going to have to be buried back at the 30. This will be a loss of 2 yards on the play. Antoine Powell-Ryland Jr. Boy, has he been terrific since Brenton Cox was dismissed from the team. A couple of sacks, 4 tackles for loss, a couple forced fumbles the last few weeks.
Man, a great job again by Amari Burney. We've seen a couple of times where he turns that run back inside. Well, Mike Wright's going to be the downhill runner, intended to be on those plays and putting them in uncomfortable, those negative yardage positions at 3rd and 10+ and showing pressure.
On 3rd and 14, Wright scampers out of there and throws it into the Florida bench. Flags come in at the end of the play.
Holding, defense number 2, 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
This has been the biggest story of the game, are critical penalties when your team's about to get off the field.
It was on Bresnahan. It was Amari Burney. Again, we just talked about him in the run game, but he's just too grabby. So you watch Bresnahan off the line of scrimmage. You see Burney there. Just stop it right here where he's going to end up. See the engagement right here. And when Mike Wright extends this play, so you can grab him, practically tackling him, hanging on to Bresnahan. Ball's not in the air. It's not PI, but it is holding. That's the third down penalty.
Davis, with new life, moves the pile to the 43. Big Des Watson on the tackle.
I mean, if you're Florida, you've got to be almost exasperated with these 3rd downs. I mean, you're not really forcing your opponent to earn them. You're forfeiting these 3rd downs back to your opponent.
Especially since they haven't done this sort of thing all year.
Right.
They've been so smart all season with their ability to not commit turnover or penalties, and today it's been a different story.
And the types of penalties, right? We're not talking about, it's like 2 fewer penalties a game. It's the types that they've been committing.
Wright's going to dump it off to Davis. Davis spins, and he's past the 50 for a first down.
About Ray Davis, we talk about him as a runner. Mike Wright, look at him, he's jacked. He's fired up about it. Another play design here. So you fake the fly sweep. He sells it to the right, comes back to Ray Davis. Ray Davis, that's one heck of not only a catch, but run after the catch. Look at that move in the open field. He ends up bringing his own block. Didn't get a ton of help from Mizubu.
Beats Miguel Mitchell. Gets past him and gets the first down into Gator territory. Wright wants to throw the deep ball. Shepard, one-on-one, incomplete. Nice coverage down there by Jason Marshall Jr.
But he gave Shepard a shot at this one. I mean, you think about a lot of these defensive coordinators, they talk about 14, almost comes up with that one. Boy, he's one of the best 50-50 ball receivers in the conference.
Yeah, Kirby Smart, the Georgia coach earlier this season, was saying how much he loves watching him play. But Marshall, everybody wanted him out of high school, and you can see why with that type of coverage. 2nd and 10. Back to the ground goes Davis. He'll get a few stepping out inside the 46.
You know, the difficulty, of course, taking a shot on first down makes sense. Try to loosen up that defense. We're talking about the numbers in the box. The challenge is if you miss, now you're staring at a 2nd and 10 to go. You only pick up a couple of yards on that perimeter run. You see Big Des Watson head to the sideline on the 3rd down. Now the question is, not can Florida defend the 3rd down, can they play a clean 3rd down? That's been the story. They've gotten stops, and the penalties have bailed Vanderbilt out to extend drives.
Shepard goes to the slot to the top. Right, throws to Skinner, a bullet for a first down to the 34.
How about that? So you play it cleanly, and Mike Wright stabs one in there to Quincy Skinner. They've been waiting for this guy to come on.
Vanderbilt catches Florida napping, going quickly, and it's Shepard gets down to the 33-yard line. Wright's been asking to go quickly all game, trying to get an extra 5 yards, get Florida off sides.
Illegal substitution defense. More than 11 players on the field at the snap. 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
That is all Mike Wright creating that.
That's a great catch, because that's what he was saying earlier. I was like, oh, he's fired up. You know, he wasn't fired up because of the play. As you see, watch the defenders. They can't quite get off the field. Look, Vanderbilt's ready. You got guys kind of trotting off up there. They didn't quite get off. And Mike Wright's been saying that. He wasn't excited about the play earlier. I was wrong. He's sitting there going, hey, we got to go. Let's get over this football and snap it.
It's now a 1st and 5. Wright will dump it off to the tight end, Justin Ball. Ball breaks tackles and is inside the 20.
Great block by Jacob Brammer. We've called him a couple of times. Hadn't been so positive. That time in the open field. Great block versus Antoine Powell-Ryland. Able to spring that run. A really well executed play.
9-yard pickup. Vandy's back in the red zone after Ball makes his 5th catch of the season. Still 5 left on the play clock. Wright sees the pressure coming from the secondary, and down he goes back at the 22. Jaden Hill and Chris McClellan came untouched to Wright.
He said brought a boundary corner blitz that time. And they did a great job of holding in, did the Gator defenders, because they had that bluff cadence. You saw up front, Florida kind of flinched along the defensive line, but they held their water and didn't undress that pressure and give it away.
It's the first sack of the game, either way. 2nd and 12 with Davis back on the field next to Mike, and here comes the toss to Ray. Makes the man miss. Inside the 10, 1st and goal, Commodores.
What a run by Ray Davis. He did it earlier after the catch on the screen pass. Ventrell Miller was coming like a freight train. Great read by number 51. Excellent forced missed tackle by Ray Davis.
So 11th play of the drive. Wright will keep. And slide down, give himself up at the 7-yard line. He's facing pressure from Kamari Wilson. And again, that turf, you wonder if that was a factor, because he could have gotten a few more yards there.
We saw it earlier for Florida. Was it Ricky Pearsall, I think? Was taking the ball in an end around, kind of slipped. It must be a little bit slicker than we anticipated, because I think Mike Wright, he was frustrated that his footing gave way. I'm not sure that he was thinking slide right there.
Right. Throws to the end zone. Touchdown. Gavin Schoenwald.
Well, Schoenwald comes all the way across and almost sells it like he was going to run block. He just bounces Ventrell Miller, who I think was looking. He had eyes on Mike Wright. Mike Wright, nice throw.
Bulovis makes it a 9-point game. Mike Wright is in total control at quarterback today. He finds Brentwood, Tennessee's Gavin Schoenwald. Anchored down. Vanderbilt up 9 in the third.
Time for the AT&T 5G Studio Update. No Jahmyr Gibbs for the Alabama Crimson Tide, no problem. Jace McClellan, 17 carries, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, Tide up 24-zip.
On ESPN Plus right now.
If there's one thing about our crew is we love to eat, so where better to eat than Nashville, Tennessee. We were at Kane Prime last night for SEC Eats. Yes, that was bone marrow or canoes of meat, as they call it on the menu. Cotton candy on top of bacon, some sort of mac and cheese, tater tots stuffed with risotto. Guys, we did not take one bite at Kane Prime Steakhouse that was not phenomenal, and our statistician finished his steak.
Yeah, he did. Richardson loads up, shorter's down there, and it's incomplete. How about that last-second play by Jadis Richard to get his hand in there and prevent what could have been a 75-yard touchdown?
Well, he was behind the coverage. And as you mentioned, Richard just got that hand in there at the last minute. Watch him divide the hands. Actually ends up just slapping that ball out of there. Really well timed to break that pass up.
2nd and 10 for Richardson and the Gators from their own 24, down 9. Quick throw and nothing doing for Dejon Reynolds. That was snipped out by Jeremy Lucien, the UConn transfer. It's a loss of 1.
Boy, they love him. Nick Howell was talking about Jeremy Lucien, how structured he is. Great job of triggering up. Now the question will be, can you execute on this 3rd down? Now, we haven't seen a ton of scramble yards out of Anthony Richardson in this game. He's excellent at extending, but we haven't seen a lot of it. Well, they've averaged almost 9 yards to go on 3rd down this afternoon.
Yeah, more than 10 here. All kinds of time, nothing open, and Richardson's going to get rid of it, actually, before he went down, and they're saying that's a pick. Jalen Mahoney off the carom gets the interception. They're talking about this, though.
Running on the field is an incomplete forward pass, 4th down.
Looked like it did hit the turf there, Stinch. Back judge said incomplete. Another official said it was a catch. Let's take another look.
I don't know. I don't know if that ball ever touched the turf. You know, Richardson, big and strong. I mean, he looked like he was up off the turf. I don't know that I see where this ball makes contact with the turf. I'm going to take another look at it.
I think you might be right there, Stinch. Jalkio Bowman's, both of his arms are underneath the football as it bounces. I think this will be our best look.
Yeah. Looks like it caroms off his forearms right there. Then Mahoney just reaches down and picks it clean.
Let's make sure Mahoney makes the grab. Yes.
Yeah, I see where it might look like it hit the turf, but that's Jalkio Bowman's forearms that the ball caroms off of. Yeah, to me it does not. That ball doesn't touch the turf. It's coming off of Jalkio Bowman's arm. And you think that was Anthony Richardson. He's just trying to get rid of this football. He had about 4 Vanderbilt defenders just kind of hanging off of him.
What a big call this would be. Give Vanderbilt the football inside the Florida 30.
How about Vandy? You know, we talked about how do you go about attacking Anthony Richardson as a passer on these third and obvious passing downs? You got to be smart. You mess around and pierce that pocket. If he escapes, then he could be even more dangerous in the scramble game. We have not seen that all game. Really haven't seen him as a runner hardly at all until the open of this second half, and he was so strong that it ended up being a detriment because he kept this alive. Take a look at it both ways. It does not look, to me, it doesn't look like that ball ever made contact with the turf.
If the call stands on the field, Florida is punting. If it's overturned, Vanderbilt gets the ball inside the Gators 30. Up 9 with 2:17 left to go in the game, and looks like they're ready.
After further review, the ball was intercepted by the defense. First down Vanderbilt.
Jalen Mahoney, the senior from Rock Hill, South Carolina, gets his first interception of the season. And it snaps a streak of 137 straight without an interception for Anthony Richardson.
And you think, you know, he's under duress. He's just trying to keep this ball alive. Chakio Bowman's trying to come back, help his quarterback, and it caroms out. How about Mahoney? God, fantastic play. Clark Lee got to be excited about this opportunity.
Patrick Smith is next to Wright. Fakes the toss, and Wright will roll out. And he'll run. No, he'll fake it and throw it inside the 5 to the goal line. Touchdown, Ben Bresnahan.
Watch Bresnahan in this effort to finish this play. Ball's in his right arm. He switches to the left. How about the pylon cam's got a great look at it. Man, what a play. Trey Dean came in there and was just hanging on for dear life, and Bresnahan fought right through it.
Bulamus makes it 28-12. Commodores with 2:06 to go. And that man, number 5 for Vanderbilt, faked out the stadium with everyone thinking he's about to tuck and run. At the last second, he says nope. Slings it down there to Bresnahan.
Well, great job by Bresnahan too. So if you're shallow, you go deep. Now initially, you could see Mike Wright was looking to get it to him, didn't like what he had. And it did. You're right, Taylor. Looks like he's just going to tuck it and run it. Brought it down just for a second. Just enough for Bresnahan to adjust his route. But look at that effort at the end. Just hopping, skipping his way into this end zone. Gator defenders coming in there. And he finds himself in the end zone. Huge, quick momentum shift, right? The quick change defense. You give up a turnover, and the offense comes right back. Huge play for Vanderbilt, defensively and then offensively with immediate capitalization on that takeaway.
It is a 2-score game, but Florida would have to get touchdowns and 2-point conversions down 16. Both of Wright's last 2 passes have been touchdown throws to tight ends. Bresnahan had 4 touchdown catches 2 years ago. That's his first since.
It's a tough one too, right? Look at this run after catch. See him switch his hands. Had on the inside, moved it to the outside, comes right back out. Look at the pylon cam. best seat in the house on these goal line plays. How many cameras do we have in those pylons now?
That one did its job.
Yeah, it did.
And that is the story of the game. Vanderbilt capitalizing off of all those Florida miscues. Richardson makes a man miss and gives himself up at the 27. It's just a pickup of 2 yards. Orji and James running with him the whole way. It's one thing to create the turnovers or make Florida commit penalties. It's another thing entirely to capitalize off of them.
No question. Yeah, and to force the scenarios that require them. You know, you go back to that first down shot play. You're going downfield. You know, Richard ends up breaking that pass up, and then you get to third down. Vanderbilt's done a good job on these early downs of forcing it to third.
It's back to the ground, and Johnson, not much doing. Maybe half a yard. Orji in there again. Johnson with only 31 yards rushing today.
And I keep going back to it, but Anthony Richardson, you opened up this half, he had a couple of attempts. He's only got 3 rush attempts on this game. And you think about how that's impacted him. You know, this is one of your better ball carriers. I don't know if he's got a read tag to some of these runs, on some of these handoffs where he could potentially pull it and try to make a play.
On 3rd and 8, here comes the pressure. Out goes Richardson and throws it away. Jalen Mahoney coming in like a rocket. Forced Richardson out of the pocket.
How about the crowd getting into it now? Anthony Richardson forced out of the pocket once again. The pressure, nowhere to go with the football. The Vanderbilt defense, after coming out here in the second half and giving up the drive, goes all the way down the field. They get that 2-point conversion stop, and now back-to-back stops. One with a takeaway and now a forced punt.
It's the first 3 and out for Florida today. Crawshaw off the side of his foot. Take a Gator bounce out of bounds at the 33-yard line. Clark Lee and the Vanderbilt Commodores up 16 with 28 seconds to go in the game. Coming up at 4 Eastern, Western Kentucky takes on Auburn. And our SEC Saturday night matchup, number 14 Ole Miss takes on Arkansas. Both games are also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. You know, Clark Lee was telling us, Stinch, about the fan support. And he was very quick to say, we have the support we need inside our walls. And once we keep winning, the support will happen in the city and in the stadium. These sort of things keep happening, and they'll fill this place up next Saturday night for the Volunteers. Smith loses yardage. Nice tackle made by Uman Mielen on what could be the last play of the 3rd quarter if Wright goes slowly here. Florida cut it to 2 to start the quarter, but then Vanderbilt scores 2 touchdowns after that, and they take a 16-point lead to the final frame. They haven't won an SEC home game in their last 12 tries. They've lost 15 in a row to the Gators in Nashville. 2 tight end touchdowns in the 3rd quarter. The Doors are up 16. Welcome back to SEC Network Football presented by Allstate. The Florida Gators trail Vanderbilt 28-12 to start the 4th quarter, and the Commodores have the football at their own 34. Alyssa Lang, Matt Stinchcomb, and Taylor Zarzer with you. As Vanderbilt tries to win against Florida at home for the first time since 1988. Jaden McGowan on the sweep goes up to the 44.
Well, all the momentum on the Vanderbilt sideline right now. You think about that 12-play drive, they march right down as an answer to the Gators drive themselves to open here in the second half, and they've seen some nightmare 3rd quarters has Vanderbilt. When they went into halftime tied with the Ole Miss Rebels, didn't respond well in the 3rd quarter. Different story here in this game. That third quarter, they were able to not only explode for those 2 touchdowns, but also really stagnate Florida.
Fake to Smith, throws to McGowan. And his athleticism allows him to get a couple more yards as Trey Dean was all over him. Out of bounds at the 47.
You know, we have not seen any true option looks. That time you had a read, an opportunity to keep it. That time he ends up dumping it out to McGowan. Last week, Vanderbilt actually ran, looked like the Beer offense, like a triple option. I haven't seen a lot of that. They did mention that that's part of the package, something that they embellished in practice this week. Haven't seen a ton of it. They frankly haven't needed it.
2nd and 7. And Smith gets past midfield into Gator territory at the 49, where he's met by Shamar James.
Great job by Ventrell Miller. I mean, he takes on a block, stands up the guard, and then makes that play. Otherwise, it was a huge hole, a dent on the right side of the Florida defensive front.
Florida's made critical errors on 3rd down defense today, particularly with personal fouls and a big holding penalty. Fake to Davis, right keeps, and he's got nowhere to go. Jervon Dexter and Justice Boone converge, and it's 4th down.
And that time, bad read by Mike Wright. And you see Dexter, and he's sitting there, and he just plays it straight. He's almost right on top of the mesh. Good job of collapsing back inside on that play.
Hayball punts from midfield with Marshall at the 10-yard line. It goes over Marshall's head, and it's down at the 9, and that's where Florida will start with 12:30 to go in the game. Can the Gators mount the comeback?
How about a little chaos? Can I interest you in that? 10-10 Illinois-Michigan. Chase Brown against one of the best rushing defenses in the country. He gone 37 yards to the house. The Fighting Illini up in the big house, 17-10. And how about this? Baylor looking to ruin TCU's undefeated streak, 21-20. Baylor driving again.
Upset Saturday, Peter. Florida, double-digit favorite today, is down 16 with their worst field position of the day at their own 9. They're quickly out of that hurdle as Dejon Reynolds makes a nice grab up past the 25 to the 26-yard line. That's a pickup of 17. Holy cow, look at number 3 and number 4, Stitch.
How about that? Wow, trailing 7 versus Illinois, an Illinois team that was riding high earlier. And then, of course, TCU, the implications certainly sitting there in the top 4.
Tennessee and or LSU could be the beneficiaries of that. Ritten's deep, and he's got Reynolds wide open. Touchdown! '74-yard strike from Richardson to Reynolds.
Watch Ricky Wright right here. He's going to end up with his eyes in the backfield. We talk about the play action. Watch him check up. Receiver runs right past him. He beat Richard off the line of scrimmage. And it was just a matter of, does Richardson have time to get the ball to him, which he certainly did. And that's the big play strike in the play action passing game that, of course, Nick Howell was talking about, had that concern. And is this ball in the end zone?
Richard, great effort to get down there.
Yeah. You know, they talked about it. It's just so dangerous. You know, Nick Howell was quick to point that out. And you're talking about the passing game and how well Florida runs the football. They have not run the football well today. But on this play, and that puts that teeth in the play action. Is his knee down before the ball crosses?
I'm not sure you can overturn that, can you?
Well, it's a long look. It ruled a touchdown on the field, of course. And to me, it actually looked as if the ball had already crossed the front edge of the plane before his knee was down. What a play by Florida. Quite the answer.
Well, this guy's a redshirt freshman. He had 3 catches on the season.
Knee down? Oh, I don't know. Well, if you look at it right there, his knee is down. See, his knee is down right here. And it's got to bring the front edge of the plane to that line. And to me, it looks as if, I don't know if I could be surgical enough to draw it that well. I'm not sure that the ball will have broken the front edge of that plane. And if so, you mentioned it, Richard, what an effort to deny the end zone if he is short.
Regardless, the day that Reynolds had has been spectacular. 3 catches on the season coming in. He's got 7 today for either 148 or 149 yards.
Right, and a touchdown. I'll tell you what's interesting, too, is that he's been targeted 7 times. He's got 7 catches. You know, for it to have been such a quiet season for him, and they got off the play right away. Wanted to get him the football, it seemed.
No Xavier Henderson today, no Jaquavion Frazier's, and Shorter got banged up again.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
I will say it is tough, and it's grainy enough to not know if he was in there already, and you're talking about on the 1-inch line if he isn't.
Well, and remember, Florida came out of the half, scored a touchdown, missed a 2-point conversion. They're going to have to go for it again here.
And on that 2-point conversion, they're really lucky that C.J. Taylor didn't pick it off. It was more than a deflection. He could have either easily picked it and gone the other way with it.
This is to make it a 1-score game.
No Justin Shorter, no Ricky Pearsall available for the Gators.
Gators are 2 for 5 on 2-pointers this year. Richardson runs, throws, and again it's C.J. Taylor. That's the second time on a 2-point conversion he's deflected Richardson's pass. And Vanderbilt's lead is 10.
Similar concept. They're just trying to flood that side of the field. And Vanderbilt, after giving up a huge play, they're able to find a way to once again get a 2-point conversion, stop, and it's still a 2-possession game.
SEC Network Football is presented by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem.
It feels like football, looks like it too on this beautiful Saturday in Nashville, Tennessee. Vanderbilt Commodores trying to win a home SEC game for the first time since 2019 and beat the Gators in their own stadium for the first time since 1988. And McGowan lets that one go over his head. And Vanderbilt starts at the 25. Stench, how about the way that Mike Wright has played for the Commodores at quarterback today? 3 touchdown passes, and he's also run it for 34 yards.
When you think about the efficiency, right? They haven't asked him to do a ton in the downfield passing game. We've really only seen one shot play downfield, and it was kind of a 50-50 ball to Will Shepard. Otherwise, they're asking him to make those decisions after the snap in the read game. He doesn't have a ton of carries in this game. Only 8 rush attempts for 13 yards, but he's been able to extend plays when needed. And of course, he does have those touchdown tosses that were well-placed throws.
And Ray Davis is approaching 100 yards rushing. He now moves to Wright's right. Mike wants to dump it off, and here comes the screen again. Drilled at the 26 is Bresnahan. What a lick by Miller.
The 51's having a game for Florida. And that guy's the leader. They talk about him. He is kind of the signal relayer for the coaches. Listen to this shot right here.
It's his 12th tackle.
I'll be looking at this.
Potential target.
We've already seen, early on in this game, B.J. Anderson for Vanderbilt ejected. Or disqualified, I should say. I gotta tell you, he definitely lowers his head. Not dissimilar to B.J. Anderson's shot.
Well, the difference here between the Anderson call and this one is this is in the second half.
Great point for next week.
Right. Play Florida State last time in your life, and if they call this targeting, he has to miss the first half next week.
And this is not to diminish the role of B.J. Anderson, but to lose a Ventrell Miller, especially versus this offense and the role that he's played on the Gator defense throughout this season, that is an enormous blow to the Gators defensively.
Coach Napier has dismissed 2 linebackers from the team in the last couple of weeks. Miller has been the constant with Bernie and the emergence of Powell Ryland. Shamar James has stepped up for Florida as well and seen significant playing time.
Now, I will say the question is, does he actually make contact? Because it does look like Bresnahan is dropping. He definitely lowers his head, intended, or at least incidentally would have hit with the crown of his helmet, but I'm not sure that Bresnahan was still high enough for him to have made contact with the crown of his helmet. There's no doubt that he lowers his head.
After further review, a personal foul targeting defense number 51 using the crown of the helmet. It's a 15-yard penalty, an automatic first down, and number 51 is disqualified.
The Gators now. So your leader on defense not available for this fourth quarter. Ricky Pearsall out. At least we haven't seen him here in the second half. Same for Shorter at receiver. And you can see Ventrell Miller certainly emotional after that disqualification. 12 tackles. Huge contributions already this afternoon.
By the letter of the law, it's the right call, but that guy's got a heart of a lion, so he gets some comfort from Anthony Richardson. And when he comes out in the second half in Tallahassee next week, watch out. Let's go down to Alyssa.
You guys just saw Anthony Richardson walk over to give Ventrell a pat on the back. I asked Anthony this week, who on this Florida team hasn't gotten the credit they deserve this year? He said with a resounding answer, Ventrell Miller. There's no way this program would be where it is this season without number 51, guys.
And again, another penalty that gives Vanderbilt a fresh set of downs at their own 40-yard line. And Davis is going backwards, but he spins out of there, and he gets a first down past the 50. Princely Uman-Mielen could not make the tackle, and Davis stayed upright.
Wow, what balance by Davis. Because Uman-Mielen's got him, right? He ends up spinning right out of that tackle. He's trying to spin him down. Instead ends up picking up a first down. We've said that about Ray Davis a couple of times. That time he's not just making moves, that time maintaining his balance, keeping his leg drive.
It's the 5th time this year Davis has gone for 100 plus, 3 in a row too. The clock starts to become a factor. Under 11 minutes left with Vandy up 10, and Davis gets inside the Gator 45, where Bernie makes the tackle.
I see Davis kind of lowering his head a little bit. We haven't seen a lot of success for Vanderbilt with the inside runs. I already see Derek Wingo was the one who substituted in there, number 15 for Ventrell Miller, who's now been disqualified in the middle of that Gator defense. Will we now see Vanderbilt with more success downhill, more straight downhill runs, attacking the middle of that defensive front? Even Big Des Watson, a lot of snaps here in the second half. Look at the disparity.
On a 2nd and 6, the toss to Davis gets spun around, but still always seems to find a way to make something out of nothing. Picks up a yard to the 43. So here's a big 3rd down for the Gator defense.
And again, we've said it before, Mike Wright's been clutch, but more than anything else, it's been the penalty scenarios on 3rd downs. Remember, 3rd and 14 that would have gotten them off the field, and instead a defensive holding call. Jason Marshall at the top of your screen with Will Shepherd. This matchup up here, keep an eye on it on the outside.
Instead, Wright stays with the ground game, and Davis makes them pay. First down, Commodores inside the Florida 35.
They're able to capture the edge. You know, you're thinking pass rush, The ball's going to come outside right here. And sometimes it's easy if these guys, especially defenders, are thinking, hey man, I'm going to try to get upfield quickly. And instead, you see Rylan Powell, he gets upfield. It ends up creating a gap, a hole, if you will. Davis does a great job getting underneath that block.
Davis is out, Smith is in, and Smith straight ahead at that Florida defense down to the 28. Stinch, is part of the reason for that success is the threat of Wright's legs. He hasn't used them as often as we've seen recently, but the Florida defense has to respect him when he gives that ball to Davis.
There's no doubt. You know, we haven't seen a lot of these pulls that when you're reading at quarterback in the run game for either quarterback, frankly. When you think about it, you know, Mike Wright in this game, 8 attempts. Some of those have just been scrambles, not all designed for him to end up with the football. But you're right, that occupies the defender in the event that number 5 for Vanderbilt pulls that football and tries to get on the edge.
Smith, more the downhill threat for a couple more. Boone on the tackle at the Florida 26. Another third down coming up for Vanderbilt.
And clock ticking away. Still a 2-possession game. We go back to that 2-point conversion. Now 2 2-point conversions here in the second half, denied by the Vanderbilt defense. Keeping this game a 2-possession game. 7.5 minutes yet to play.
Almost a 5-minute drive. Vandy's been so good on third down today. Davis breaking tackles, gets the first down. The Gators were there, but Ray bounces off again.
What an effort by Ray Davis. So they have like a gap exchange. Watch him pirate inside. See the slant of that defensive front? Instead, he's able to run through that first would-be tackle. Like Justice Boone had a shot at him. Instead, he's able to break that one. And then, of course, you look in there, Derek Wingo in there for Ventrell Miller.
Mike Wright's done such a good job with the play clock throughout this drive. It's now dipping near 5. Fakes to Davis. Now will throw the one-on-one ball. Shepherd, is that picked off? It is. Jason Marshall took it away. Vanderbilt is running the football down Florida's throat, but throws it and turns it over.
I don't get it. I don't understand the decision there. You know, you're sitting there, you're milking clock, as you mentioned. This is the only pass attempt on this entire drive. Boy, the Gators needed a stop to get the ball back, and they got it. Jason Marshall denying the score and getting it back to his offense.
Jason Marshall gets the interception, but Florida is pinned deep at their own 5, down 10, and Richardson gets them out of there with a quick throw to the sideline that goes to Justin Shorter. We haven't seen much of him. Let's take a look at today's Gatorade fueling performance. The Gators stay alive with this pick, Stinch.
The only pass attempt on that drive, Vanderbilt just commanding in the run game. And then they try to take a shot. We talked about the 50-50 opportunities with Will Shepherd, but now you see the ball back in a 2-possession game to an offense in Florida who just hit a big shot for a score downfield.
But look how far Florida has to go with under 6 minutes left, down 10. Richardson wants to throw it deep, instead throws it into the stands.
You mentioned Justin Shorter back out there. It's what got them a little bit of breathing room on this possession, but again, another shot downfield and play action. You still have time yet. Now, if you're going to do it in the run game, then of course it will leak more time off of that clock. But they've really only hit that one shot. They've taken others. But you mentioned it, Taylor. There's a lot of field for Vanderbilt to defend. And the clock is your enemy if you're Florida.
Just 3 of 11 on third down today. And it's Johnson, and he's not going to get there. No place to run. As he stopped at the 12, it's 4th down, and Florida's going to have to go for it from their own 12.
That's been the story all game long. They have not been able to get Johnson going. And on that one, again, call it and run it. No opportunity for Richardson to even pull that thing on the edge. And the Vanderbilt defense interior held up. But it's 4th down, where Florida has been very effective. One of his favorite receivers with AC Shorter moving to the opposite side of the formation, number 4.
Florida's been outstanding on 4th down today. Richardson will throw, and it's too far in front of Jalkio Bowman. Turnover on downs.
So you turn it over, but the net result is really just more time off the clock. More than anything else, you're in almost the same position of the field. A missed opportunity, huge one. This ball is not even close to Jalkio Bowman, and Anthony Richardson almost knew it. You could see him. He's trying to pull the string on that ball a little bit, knew that he overshot it.
It's a team that was averaging over 300 yards rushing in the last 2 weeks. They have 30 today.
You credit the Commodore defense. They did an excellent job, and frankly, a lot of times have been handoffs.
Davis, Desmond Watson all over him.
Of course,
Florida has to start using those timeouts.
Yeah. As you see it there, just trying to preserve some clock to work with in a 2-possession game. You go back to those 2 2-point conversion denials.
We'll take a timeout with Vanderbilt on the doorstep of a win.
Little studio update, back and forth. Crazy game in Waco. TCU down 8. They score, go for 2. No good. Baylor trying to run the clock out. Tennessee fans going wild.
Exactly right, PB. And Michigan's trailing in the 4th quarter against Indiana. Illinois, excuse me. Here, Vanderbilt trying to put the finishing touches on Florida, and Davis will go down to the 10-yard line where the Gators will use their second timeout with 4:48 left.
Florida, their second of the half. 30-second timeout.
You know, but Taylor, you look back on that previous possession, really, you're wondering, with 5 minutes on the clock, I guess you're saying defensively you don't trust that you're going to get the ball back quickly in a 2-possession game. Going for it on 4th down, you're effectively conceding the football back in near certain scoring position. And of course, Florida defense only forced 1 punt here in the second half. They did get that stop with the interception. But you're sitting there thinking, I guess, that you couldn't get the ball back on that previous Florida offensive possession going for it on 4th down. Man, the rushing yards have just been remarkable in this game, given the way Florida was gouging defenses. Penalty yards have been the story, and when they've bubbled up.
Vandy keeps it on the ground with Davis, and he gets down to the 9, and Florida burns their last timeout with 4:42 to go in the game, and Vanderbilt will bring on the kicking team to try to make this a 13-point game. So what's on the line here right now? 12 straight home losses stench in the Southeastern Conference. They end the 26-game streak last week, but that was in Lexington. That wasn't here. First back-to-back SEC wins in 4 years, and they haven't beat the Gators since Watson Brown and the Commodores knocked off Galen Hall and the Gators back in 1988.
How about that? I mean, just a remarkable opportunity here for Vanderbilt. Of course, Florida defensively here, so you got the interception. Your offense gives it back and a turnover on downs, but the defense able to force this field goal attempt. Still potentially, even with a make here, a 2-possession game, albeit a different one. Field goal doesn't get you to a tie.
27-yard attempt for Bulovas. And he's been perfect today. All his extra points and his field goal, and it gives Vanderbilt a 13-point lead. The last time Vanderbilt beat Florida back in 1988. Did you see The Last Emperor with Christian Bale? I don't remember that one.
Was it? No, maybe it was The Empire of the Sun. Did I say Christian Bale? Was he in that thing? How about that, though, the Fighting Irish? The biggest thing for me is the gallon of milk. $1.89. Unbelievable. I'm paying like $5 a gallon for that stuff now.
Our producer, Tom Schofield, was wearing nothing but denim back in New Jersey in 1988. Notre Dame won their last national championship. Who'd you say, Sco, was in The Last Emperor?
I can't remember now. Which empire were they even talking about in that one? Doesn't matter. This one, it's been a long time, folks, is what we're saying. Opportunity for Vanderbilt to close it out. And, of course, Florida, we've seen a big play here in the second half. Can they get something going on offense again?
It's picked up at the 4 by Etienne. And he's down near the 25-yard line. It's critical that they score before there's 2 minutes left in the game. They're out of timeouts. Still would think they might try an onside kick regardless if they're what kind of score they get, but they got to do this in the next 2 minutes or so if they won't have any prayer of getting the football back.
The story in this game, we look at that outside of the penalty yardage. Anthony Richardson, he hit that, kind of uncorked that play action pass downfield, but it's the lack of contribution in the ground game that has been really surprising this afternoon.
Just 30 rushing yards today has put the Gators in this passing situation. This ball's a good one past the 40 and out near the 42 to Shorter.
And now Vanderbilt obviously playing off and soft on that one, and they're going to ask Anthony Richardson here to complete passes. Question will be, will they pick their spots if they can get it to a third down to pressure Richardson?
Etienne picks up the pressure, but no one's open. Richardson will take off and get the first down into Vanderbilt territory, down to the 42. Haven't seen almost any of that today. 15 more.
Huge pickup. We talk about the scramble game. You're exactly right. We really have it. The scramble yards by Richardson, one of their bigger plays of the game there.
33 yards in 2 plays is exactly what Florida needs. Richardson throws it out sideways. Etienne breaking a tackle inside the 20 and stays on his feet out of bounds inside the 16. 26 more.
Reminiscent of Ray Davis earlier. Great job shaking the first would-be tackler in Jalen Mahoney. Took Jeremy Lucien as well.
Richardson, like a statue, throws it and it's over Odom's head. Incomplete. Clock will stop with 3:26.
Well, how about the explosive plays this time, though? You're talking about back-to-back bigs, 33 yards, as you mentioned, on those two. Then another big one to Etienne. Vanderbilt willing to trade yards for time, but you don't want to mess around and allow too quick of a score here. You mentioned, Taylor, opportunity to snag another possession. And Etienne out of the backfield that last time. Now he motions back in there. There's always a rush threat with him in there.
Richardson across the middle to the end zone, dropped. Dejon Reynolds had it in his breadbasket.
Dejon Reynolds has been the story this afternoon. You got to come up with that catch for your quarterback. I mean, that is a sure touchdown. We talked about it earlier. That's the first incompletion of the game when Dejon Reynolds was the targeted receiver. Previous to that, he was 7 for 7.
.321 left. Underneath and incomplete. Trying to get it to Zanders, the big tight end. It was thrown off the mark. 4th down.
And that one just a poorly placed ball from Richardson after a perfectly thrown ball on the previous one. You could see that time only 3 committed rushers, initially anyway, by Vanderbilt before they brought pressure.
The game's on the line for Florida.
Some confusion with the formation. Saw Richardson trying to get Reynolds to the right side.
Over the middle to the end zone, and this time Reynolds makes the catch. Touchdown, Gators. What a day for Dejon Reynolds.
You could see he was lined up to the left side of the formation initially, working against Jeremy Lucian, and gets across his face and double clutched. That catch even. Had it, bounced off his own face mask, and that was good. Nice protection by the Gators. Really on back-to-back snaps where Vanderbilt brought pressure.
On 4th down today, Gators are 3 for 4 with 3 huge plays, and the extra point by Mahalik is no good.
Hard to believe. It's been an interesting afternoon for Gator special teams.
That's his first missed extra point of the season.
He makes that kick, and what are you saying? Effectively, a touchdown ties it for you with a chance to win it with a point after. Now you're still facing a touchdown game to include a point after, which, as we just discovered, might be an adventure this afternoon for the Gators. Still a 1-possession game now for Florida.
Billy Napier getting a big performance from Dejon Reynolds today with those 2 touchdown catches. He only had 3 catches on the year, and he gets 8 for 165 and 2 touchdowns today.
And now the question is, and as they set up for the onside, so you got your hands team in there. If you're Vanderbilt, at least Gators initially showing the onside look. This is definitely different. You see, prior to all these other kickoffs, they have been lined up, stacked. You see, set up to get that onside kick to the far side of the field.
And a nice catch is made at the 46 by Davis. Get your hands team out there, and Ray Davis, who's had such a great game at tailback today, gives the ball back to Vanderbilt.
This ball took a nice hop. It was like one of those grenade onside kicks. It bounces right off, initially off the turf, immediately right to Ray Davis.
If Florida can force a 3-and-out here, they could get the football back with about a minute to go. If Vanderbilt gets a first down on any down, it's over.
And you just saw the Gator offense go right down the field. Could have scored even quicker had Reynolds come up with that initial sure touchdown.
And Davis has got no place to go. Might have lost half a yard as Trey Dean makes the tackle. His next snap on a second down will be snapped with about 2.5 minutes left.
You go back to what you said earlier this half, Taylor, where Mike Wright was very diligent in how he was monitoring that play clock. trying to milk it down all the way. He'll certainly do that here. Of course, as you mentioned, Vanderbilt can't afford to just run plays. They need to pick up a first down to ice this game. You see him milking it down under 4.
Snapped with 2:27 left. Davis, still not much, maybe a yard. And now there'll be about 145 or so by the time this third down is snapped.
You see these scrums, not that you could do much about it, but if you're Florida, if you can get that ball carrier on the ground immediately, because there's a couple of more seconds that leak off every time that scrum starts.
The last time Joey Lynch, the offensive coordinator, got creative, his quarterback Mike Wright threw an interception. How creative do you want Wright to be here?
No, I don't think it's worth that chance. Although we've seen on a repeat, it's just simple runs right up the middle.
Snapped with 1:42 to go, and here's Davis on this toss, and the Gators are in the backfield to make the tackle for loss. Bernie and Uman Mielen back there, and Florida's going to get the football back.
Back-to-back great defensive reps, a bit defensive possessions. You get out there defensively, get a stop, get the ball back. You see that clock leaking down, but regardless, at least you can give your offense a chance to finish on the field.
Vandy's going to let this clock run all the way down, and Clark Lee's going to call timeout with under a minute left. So 56 seconds left, and after the punt, you're going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 seconds or go, Stinch, with no timeouts. And boy, that Mahalik missed extra point becomes critical. Can't tie the game, obviously, if they go down, kick the extra point. But could be in a position to win it had that gone in.
Of course, go back to those 2 missed 2-point conversions as well.
Right.
Really well defended C.J. Taylor on both of those with deflected passes. The difference in the scoring here in the second half.
It's turned into upset Saturday here across college football with Baylor's victory over TCU. Illinois has a 1-point lead on Michigan, and Vandy 7 up. Now Vandy punts it away, and it's inside the 10, down to the 9. And there's 46 seconds left. We're just being told that TCU did come back in the last minute and beat Baylor 29-28. So maybe the 42-yard field goal for TCU to win that game by 1. Illinois does lead Michigan by 1. And here the Gators are trying to rally. They were down double digits for most of the second half. They have 46 seconds left. No timeouts. And the ball on their own 9-yard line. They got to go 91 yards.
And if you're Vanderbilt, you're thinking, look, even if you cover down, the most dangerous offensive player on the field starts the ball, each snap, with the ball in his hands. In Anthony Richardson, all eyes on 15. Only 3 rushers.
All day, and that ball's deflected and almost picked off. Mahoney almost got it. Christian James got his hand on it, as you see there.
Christian James had that deflection on the first possession versus Kentucky last week. Just right in there, just reading the QB's eyes, literally. Get that big left hand up like he's playing basketball.
40 seconds left.
Looks as if Vanderbilt's going to just mush rush. Allow Richardson to stay in the pocket.
Throws it out, and it's a fastball that's too strong for Johnson. 3rd down.
Just as I say that, they ended up bringing 4. That time Anthony Orji leaking out. But you mentioned it, fastball, too hot. At least try to pick up some positive yards. Would have been tough for Johnson to get out of bounds. He was catching it to the far side of the field.
Richardson from the goal line gets it out to Shorter. First down, past the 20 to the 21.
First down, stops the clock. You see Florida in their operation, and I gotta tell you, after that shot to Ricky Wright,
they're not going to clock it here. They're going to keep going. Clock down to 20 seconds left. Richardson to the sideline, and that ball is caught by Zander, but only gets a few yards. 17 seconds to go.
I lost another 6 seconds or so, 6 or 7 seconds in running that play. They picked up a few yards there.
Can the Gators go 76 more yards with 17 seconds left? Richardson looks around. Throws, caught, past midfield. Jalkio Bowman's inside the 45. 10 seconds left. And Richardson will get up there and clock it. Shotgun snap clock with 8 seconds left.
He's got plenty of arm to get it down there, that's for sure. There's no question about that. Everybody knows that, has seen it. Vanderbilt coaching staff talked about it. They've seen countless throws where Anthony Richardson demonstrates that arm strength. There's no question he can get it to the end zone from here.
Could use the sideline and have 2 plays. Or if he goes to the end zone or across the middle of the field, it could be the last play. Clark Lee's got 2 timeouts left. He'll use one of them.
We're second of the half. 30-second timeout.
So Clark Lee takes that timeout, sees how they're going to align. You could see only 4 defenders were within 40 yards, 30 yards of the line of scrimmage there. But as you mentioned, Taylor, if you're going to concede that much ground, take a shot, right? You got to get it in the end zone. That's not there's no other question. Do you take 2 shots to the end zone, or do you stair step it? Try to get one that's more intermediate, and then give yourself a better chance on that final play. That's what they're talking about right now on the sideline. As far as getting the ball down there, that's not the concern. And you can see that Vanderbilt, just with 4 up, I'll be surprised if all 4 rush, especially knowing that you got number 15 that could take off and run. Complete a ball short of the end zone, get out of bounds quickly, and then you got one more crack to try to tie this game up.
Can Vanderbilt finish this off, or will Anthony Richardson make them pay? Richardson underneath, it's caught. He makes the catch in bounds. This could end the game. 2 seconds left. Shorter makes the catch, and I don't think Richardson can get this off. Let's see.
I don't understand. Why is the clock stopped?
It's short of the first down, too. Now they're letting this play run, and Richardson throws to the end zone. Out of the end zone. Vanderbilt wins. It's the Commodores' first win against Florida at home since 1988. Clark Lee's Commodores win consecutive SEC games for the first time in 4 years. Down to Alyssa with Coach Lee.
Coach, a week ago you got your first SEC win for this program in years. Now it's 2 in a row. What does this one mean?
Well, I told them last week that we're going to do more of these celebrations, and you know they responded. The week of prep was great, and yeah, we're happy with that one. There's going to be stuff to clean up. We want to fight for postseason. That's what we'll do.
You say you remind your team to remember what makes them dangerous. What made them dangerous today?
Well, we capitalized on mistakes today. I'm going to be honest. It wasn't obviously a perfectly clean game, but we capitalized on mistakes. We played Vanderbilt football. and made the plays when we need to make them, including the one there at the end.
What did you make of the suffocating performance of your defense today?
We knew we had to stop the run. They did that. We knew that if we forced them to throw it to beat us, that they were going to have trouble. And, yeah, I'm proud of them. Obviously, there's going to be some things that we want to get back and get better at, but on the whole, I mean, we got to win. We're going to celebrate a win.
Congrats, Coach.
Thanks so much.
There is no question, as he takes the Gatorade bath, that this Vanderbilt group is buying into Clark Lea's culture. It pays off today with a home win over an SEC opponent for the first time since 2019. Now, what happened here, Stinch, on this catch, which is short of the first down marker at the 33-yard line?
I don't understand. You see the official running in there saying it's a catch. He was clearly down in bounds, but signaling for the clock to stop. And that's what all the Commodore coaches are saying is, why isn't the clock running? Why isn't the clock running? And ultimately, it did not matter. Anthony Richardson threw it over the upright, or over the crossbar, it seemed, on the final throw.
Welcome to SEC Now, presented by Yellowwood. What a game that we just saw over in Nashville. Vanderbilt back-to-back wins, and how about this scene